So we're looking at the key business processes for HomebuilderONE, and which should resonate for really any home builder, certainly in the US, whether they're a production home builder or otherwise. And we're going to take you all the way through these 8 areas. So starting from the community and rolling through bidding, marketing and pricing, sales and design, operations, construction, warranty, through to the close of the home in accounting. So we're going to start off with the community area. Before we do that, let's just take a look at and orientate ourselves with the AX and HB1 platform. So this is a menu screen that, with full access, you see various different things in here. So, pricing and concessions, options and colors, various different things which are called workspaces, and you'll get a sense of what a workspace is in a moment. This is a navigation menu. So really 3 types of users within the AX platform, and the first one we're going to look at is this one here called task. And so these guys, they will be doing key processes for the business. They'll be doing, lots of tasks, maybe, repetitive kind of tasks. One of the key things that they want to do is reduce and eliminate the clicks. They may have 2 or 3 workspaces for a role. And they'll have, maybe some indicators, basically directing them to the most urgent things and that they should be working on. And they may have some reporting and even KPIs. So an example of one of these could be an estimator. So the summary section on the left-hand side shows these things that the estimator needs to do, what custom options they have, how many house plans without a bill of material that they may need to focus on. And then they've got 2 really task sections. One of them is this urgent option bill of materials, and the second is option bill of materials, maybe for new communities, maybe less urgent, but they're really just a series of tasks. In the middle we have just a little statistics area. Maybe they can compare how long it takes them to do a build versus how long it takes their colleagues, and how many builds they're actually doing, maybe on a daily or a weekly basis. This really can be configured how the business would like to see it. And then on the far right hand side there's some links to the most common things that these users would need to see and do on a daily basis. The middle one then is a manager kind of role. They may do less of the processes, but they may still have some approvals that they need to do. They may have more metrics or more KPIs. They want to have easy access to any exceptions, so they can do their role and manage, and they may have multiple reports. So KPIs on the left hand side, key tasks that they need to do. So these are contracts which require their approval. Okay, so this is really the sales manager or divisional president maybe. Some other things that metrics that they would be interested in, maybe sales and profit by a community, sales by a particular region rather than community, and then links once again. And then finally takes us to the CXOs, as we've called it. And really this is just a reporting kind of view. So we have a really quick reporting view here for a CEO, but this is just Power BI in memory, up to the second data, so that they can obviously run the business. Okay, so the main part of our presentation is going to focus on the key areas, the things that we started at the beginning. So this starts with the community setup, runs into bidding, marketing, etc. So these, if you need to orientate yourself, so I may be going a little quick, you can look down at the bottom of the deck and you'll see where I am. And then on the left hand side we have the processes within each of these key areas, so the sub processes. So we're going to go through really any of these in white. We're either going to go through them as a live presentation or as a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll see how many, hopefully we can get through them all in the time allotted. So we're going to start here with the community setup. So some of the things that we'd need to do is we'd need to create a new community. So here we have a structure which we can go ahead and build in as many levels deep as we need. So I may have regions, I may have product types in here, I've got divisions, so Dallas is maybe my division, and then I've got all of the communities within that particular division. So other key things that they may want to place in here, maybe marketing descriptions, maybe that's going to a website, maybe that's going on to marketing material that they generate at the showroom. We could plot the lots, so we know what's available, we know where they're available, we can utilize that with the buyer, show them where the lots are and what can fit on those lots, etc. So then skipping through the lot creation, of course we would allocate and build our lots into that Eastlake community. This one is showing moving into the options definition, which is really creating the options for the community. Now there's a couple of ways we could do this. We could copy, so we may have a light community, and that's basically, that's our basis. That may copy all of our bills of material, it may copy our cost prices, our options, our sales prices, our house plans, whatever you want to copy, it's all in one form, and you basically go ahead and select them. What this process allows us to do is allows us to probably put things into a spec level. We call these a spec level planning group, and you can see the planning from a planning perspective, which options are you may want to include in a particular community. It takes it a step further than that. We may only want the option available in certain house plans. So we can say the creation mode is by house plan, and on the left hand side we have our option categories. So all of our countertops, we're highlighted on countertops here, and we may want the 753080, the 3 centimeter granite kitchen countertop, available in all plans. So I can go ahead and click on the far left hand side. If I want to select just a couple of plans or an individual plan, I can go ahead and just select the individual records. And so, it would be the process of the sales team to go through all of the different options within that planning group and select the relevant options that they want to sell in that community. The next step then is to look at the house plan. So here we're going to look at how to create a house plan from scratch, but also how to release the house plan. So the bills of material, just worth pointing out here on the left hand side, that's set up elsewhere. We're not going to actually look at that today, but it uses this process called inheritance. So we could set up the bills of material at whatever level we want to set it up at. So here we're going to create a new house plan, and we give it an ID, a name, a longer name for marketing purposes. We attach as unlimited images for the elevations. We attach attributes of the plan, how many bath, how many bedroom. We can use that in a filter capability, so we can limit the plans that we're showing to a buyer, for example. Once we're ready, we can go ahead and release this house to be sold in a community. So this takes us to that screen. We release the house plan to one or more communities. Here I will just select the Eastlake. I select the plan name, which could be different. So this is really like the local marketing name for the Eastlake community. Maybe this is, it's got a name called Merion, but in Dallas or in Eastlake, we want to call this the Ranger, so we can go ahead and give it a different name. And the same with the elevations. Maybe normally they're called A and C, and then it's up to the division to record a description, a local description for them. So once we click OK, that will go ahead and build the house plans. So quickly then, in summary, we've gone ahead, built the community. We may have set up all the phases. We didn't really look at that, but you can go and set multiple phases in there. We want to create the lots, which also we didn't look at. We specify what options we want to select for this new community. We select the plans we want to release for the community, and we set up all our costs for the base house and the options, which really takes us to the next piece, which is in the bidding section. So we've gone and specified which vendors we want to use for the bid. So that may be typically by geography. So it could also be controlled by corporate, to say corporate are saying, hey, for appliances you are using this and you actually can't change it. But within the division itself, we may allow them to obviously select which plumber they're going to use, etc. So we can go and allocate that in different ways. So what we're picking it up from is creating a bid. So we're going to do this new request, and we can do this by for the individual community, as we're referring to here. It could be for one or more cost codes. It could be for one or more house plans. We don't necessarily have to specify these things if we want them all. We can just go ahead and select them all. I think a key thing to kind of remember as we're talking about this is that we could be doing a bid for a lump sum, or for sticks and bricks, or a combination of both. So it's worth keeping in mind on that. So once we've done that, the relevant products and vendors are selected as per the selections, and we can click this filter vendors, which will show us for this trade type, which I think is looks like electrics based on who I've got selected at the bottom. So the electric sticks and bricks, if you will, are all shown here, and then who the vendors are which are going to be bidding out on those. Now we can amend these vendors, so we can add or remove these vendors, and once we're ready we can go ahead and submit that to the vendor portal or via email to the vendor. So let's have a look at, imagine now that we've sent them out, the vendors have now done their bid, they've submitted back their costs, and we're ready to do an analysis of that. So if we just jump into the AX, so now we're in AX and we're looking at a particular bid I've created earlier, which is for lumbers and trusses. I want to click on this compare bids here, and I want to select one of the trade types. I've got at least 2 trade types within this bid, but I only want to look at the trusses. And then my vendors, which are going to be filtered as these 5 vendors who I've sent this bid out to. You can send it to unlimited. I want to only select a couple of plans, and what I'm going to do here is really some weighting on our plans. So this could come from budget figures, but just to show you the capability here, I'm going to say that we're going to sell 30, let's say, of the 1-story plans and 70 of the 2-story plans. And if we just go back to comparison and click our calculate, we'll see some figures here. And really the numbers I want you to focus on are really vendor 2 and vendor 5. So vendor 2 is 35,165 and vendor 5 is 35,620. So obviously the least expensive vendor with that weighting is vendor 2. Now if we change this, there's no need to use Excel or anything like that. We can all do it all within the solution here. And if we just change this to a 70-30 split and run our calculation once again, we'll see that, well, it's still pretty good price at 32,145, certainly better than the other 3. But now vendor 5 has a slightly cheaper price. So depending on the mix of of our products and how they're getting utilized within the bills of material will depend on which vendor I go and select. So jumping back into the deck then. So really in summary, I think we've just covered that off pretty well. We can do analytical comparisons. We can electronically compile our bid packages that could include any plans and drawings and timelines, a number of lots, etc., that we need to supply the vendor in order for them to give us a cost. So that's all available within our bidding and procurement section. So then jumping into the third area, which is marketing and pricing, we have the lot premiums that we would need to set, obviously per lot. We can set base house pricing, or we can get some assistance with that calculations. We can do options pricing, which we're going to look at a live presentation shortly here, and the concessions management. So let's go and jump into the options pricing. So once again, we're just going to open up Dynamics AX, and I've just got a hyperlink, and it's just taking me direct to the form that I want to go to. Remember, it's all HTML5. What we're looking at here is the options sales prices, and we want to alter this by option category and actually by community as well. So Eastlake for architectural, we want 25 points, but maybe for Midwest we want 40 points. So we can actually alter it depending on where we're selling these options. We're going to focus on this one, actually, the very top one, which is appliances. And we're going to do a markup. There can be margin as well, but we're going to do a markup on cost at 25 points. So if we just click on the sales price worksheet here, this will open up all of the options within that particular category that we've gone and selected. We could actually go to lower levels of categories, so you can, maybe instead of appliances, we just wanted dishwashers. We could just go and filter it just to dishwashers and just concentrate on that individual category. So what it's showing us is the current cost prices, a system suggested price based on that 25% markup, the current sales price, the sales price is system suggested. This one's an editable sales price. The current sales price, so we can see any price changes, margin percent, markup percent, and the dollars that are of the margin and markup. So what I want to look at, instead of looking at all of this, maybe I want to look at the exceptions. So I want to look at the price change, and we'll say, hey, we're just interested in anything that we're going to increase 5% or greater. So rather than trawling through it all, where we're not really going to make too many changes, we just want to look at the larger changes. We don't see, this seems, too large a hike. Maybe something's not quite right there. We can go ahead and make an amendment on the fly. This will change it from 130 to 120. Immediately, this has been amended and our margin's been amended, etc. So once we're happy with that, we can highlight them and go ahead and create the prices for our options. So that's a really quick way without utilizing Excel once again, all within the system, utilizing the data within the system to build out our options pricing. So once again, quickly, just in summary, we're able to do concessions. We're able to allocate those to different ledger accounts. We can work out what promotions are working. And obviously there's a systematically can generate suggested pricing for both the base house, which we didn't see, and the options. So then into our largest section, this is the sales and design center. So there's probably about 8 or 9 sections within this. A lot of them we are going to go through. We're going to assume here that we've done the opportunity definition. We're then going to jump into link this buyer or this opportunity to a house plan of their choice and the lot. So the buyer has gone ahead and selected this particular house plan. We're going to take a look at this because that's fine and looks okay, to generate images and for them to pop out those images and see a bigger image. But wouldn't it be great if we could do this with the HoloLens and actually give a real immersive experience for our buyer? So we'll look at the video, and we'll place the video in here so you can view that. So assuming then that the buyer is happy with that particular house plan, the next thing they want to go and select is the lot. So we can go ahead and filter down the lots. The sales consultant would only see their own community, of course. So they'd be in the Eastlake community. They'd only see unsold lots. They may also see quick move-ins. They'd obviously be able to see the lot premiums for any of these lots, but also if there is a quick move-in price, that would also be shown here, and any of the configurations of that home and the options within that home, of course, hardwood floor, etc., 3-car garage, etc. Once we're ready and the lot's been selected, we can go and link that to the opportunity, and that takes us directly back into the opportunity form. So this is what an opportunity looks like, maybe come from your CRM system. So we want to go ahead and build out a proposal. So we need to provide details for this. This is called a sales design or quotation. So we've selected our lot, we've selected our house plan and elevation. This brings us to the next piece of this jigsaw, if you will, the ability or need to go and select all of our options. So we've selected the house plan, we've selected our lot, we now want to select our options. So this is really, if you like, a catalogue of all our options on the left-hand side. These may have been only available for this community, for this house plan. That's obviously all been occurred right up front when we were looking at the setup of this of the solution. We want to view the marketing information, so we can obviously display this to the buyer. We can have multiple images, we can have warning and info notes through here. There's obviously to select, we can go and select the check mark, or we can enter a quantity that will do the same thing. We may have a wish list, or the buyer may have a wish list, and they can go ahead and select the wish list. We can go and filter down on just their wish list. We're tracking totals of wish list, and whilst we're talking about what else we're tracking, we could capture their budget amount, we could capture what they've got remaining to spend, and we could capture obviously what they have spent. So things to help the design consultant or the sales agent, give an up-to-date status of where that buyer is actually at. This is an interesting one here that we have, which is a fireplace with period sound. We have then these dependent or packaged options. In this case, it's dependent, and we can't have a tile level 3 on the fireplace, the tile surround upgrade to the fireplace without the fireplace, of course. So these are only available when that fireplace is selected, and it shows us the prices, etc. here over here on the right hand side. It could also be used for packaged options. So imagine we've got a new kitchen, and in this kitchen we have to maybe select a dishwasher, select a refrigerator, select a range or a hood. We can go ahead and place those in a very similar kind of fashion over there on the right hand side. I've mentioned the calculation, so I'll move on. If we wanted to, we could drill into what the options look like to give a better experience for the buyer. We can go ahead towards the end and show what has been selected, so we can run through, here's what you've actually selected, maybe via the screen. You could also do this via a report, of course. Another additional feature that we have here, and this is one I'm sure that adds value to most businesses. So this is intersecting options. So I've got a 9-foot main floor ceiling, which the buyer's gone and selected, but they've also selected sand colored bricks. Maybe they were red bricks and now they're sand colored. But of course, if you think about that, that's given us a bit of a problem, because the standard option for the main floor ceiling increase in height is with red brick. So of course that option is going to come in with red brick. But with our solution, what we're going to do is we're going to do a sand brick adjustment automatically. The buyer or the sales agent doesn't have to remember any of this. This is something that the system is going to generate for them, obviously reducing all of the errors that come along with that, customer service problems, cost, etc. So let's go ahead and take a look at the custom option workflow. And so we've done our quote. They're happy with all the selections, but they want to make a change to something. So if we just jump into one of these, I think I could jump into any actually. So we'll jump into this one and we'll create a custom option. And maybe I want to add tiles to the bathroom. Okay, so I could go ahead, build all of that, maybe place increase tiles to the ceiling, and maybe they've already based it on an existing option. I could go ahead and upload an image here. I'm going to upload something that had nothing to do with the image that we had. I'm going to basically just pull in this one here. which is now showing our tile increase. We'll ignore that it isn't. And we've gone ahead and created an option or a custom option. So this hasn't yet been selected. It's waiting for a price. So if we just jump out of there and look at what the estimator, because this would have been routed using workflow to an estimator. So we've got this add tiles to a bathroom. If we just click in this, they will need to provide a sales price. They will see the image that we've gone and selected for it. They could go ahead, record the sales price, and using workflow they can go and route it back to that sales agent. If they needed to, they could also enter some notes. They could reject the request and record reasons why, etc. Everything happening electronically so that it's all within the system. If anybody's outside of the office for that day, anybody else can pick up where it left off. It'd be possible to provide messages maybe to the sales agent so that they can chase up any prices that they haven't got. So that was all great, and but imagine if we did this, we're using a hub, the Surface Hub, and we have this interactive experience then with our buyer in the showroom, and any of these custom options or other things that we want to do, so we can really give them a vision of how this home looks. We could use the Microsoft Hub and then save anything that we need to save against the opportunity, against that particular lot that buyer buys, directly from the Surface Hub. So having done the option selections, and built out the sales design, really the last thing that we want to do is the quotation, or at least provide them with all of their selections, any included options that may have happened, the base home, structural options, design options, any concessions could have been added. So we're really ready to send out a quotation, once again via email or via print. So this is what the SSRS, the SQL Server Reporting Services report, could look like. Just an example showing their house and then the subtotal of their house. And really this is just all groups and sections which you as a builder are in fully control of, obviously with the total at the bottom. So next live presentation is to pick up that quotation and take it through now to contract signing. So we jump into the contracts area. And the very last one we have is the Smith's home. And actually what I've done is I've actually confirmed this, and what it's actually generated along with any offer details is a sale. But what we're going to do is just press escape there. Oops. Like that. And we're going to just jump into my email, and we would see nothing coming through. So just picking back up on this contractor and DocuSign, what I have is, we'll just jump into my mailbox here, and we'll have a quick view on this DocuSign. No, we won't. Okay, so let's skip through that. Okay, so once we've done our signature and the buyer's all happy, they would have to go and select colors and any other kind of materials that they need to select, things that don't affect the price of the option or price of the home. So we can see here, this is the base home and all of the things that they need to select. Basically, with the these colors are restricted by a divisional community. And then on the left hand side, we also have the options, which also require colors. Some of them may inherit, but this will just be a whole list of options and the colors and etc. that are needed for selection. So in summary, we see that there's huge and dramatic improvements in compliance with HB1, and the speed, the customer service, using things like DocuSign, Surface Hub to improve accuracy and the whole buying experience for the buyer. So the next section is another live presentation. This time we're going to actually do a simulated house start. So let's open up a browser once again. And the one that we're going to look at is Paulina and Arnie Maelstrom's home. And this has come from, so this has got generated when the house was closed, when it was sold, when the sales manager or divisional president had signed off on that home, and ran through a margin analysis, of course, and determined that the margin was adequate. So once we're through that process, it's then back to the purchasing team, and they would run through a simulation to ensure that everything looks in order to build this home. So first view on this is we're going to look at it by cost code or category, as we refer to that in AX. And the one I'm going to look at is the roof framing. We'll see a couple of things here. We'll notice that there's a lot of icons on the right hand side. This is telling me that there's multiple vendors which have been allocated to really this trade. So we've got a framing trade or maybe lumber, and we'll notice here that we've got different vendors, and that's a bit of a problem to us. So I want to go out and swap out these vendors. So all of our takeoffs are in here, our contract items are in here, by category, of course, because that's what are filtered by, the number of quantity, unit of measure, the cost price, and the extended cost price, and who the vendor is, which has been selected based on the rules that we've got and configured. So I want to replace this vendor, and I want to change not just for the individual category, but for the entire trade type. So that trade type, I think, will be something to do with lumber. And I can't remember, or I can't see that account number, so I can very easily just start typing who the vendor is that I want to use, and typing in 84 lumber. It's found the most accurate vendors for that, meeting that selection criteria I've got, and I could click OK, and that's going to go ahead and replace the vendors through this. So we can see here that now we've got another icon which is indicating to us that those original vendor has now been changed. So I can remove these overrides if I didn't like what I'd just done there. I could have selected multiple actually, but as there's only 4, I'll take those out. So that's one process. Another process could be, well, let's make sure we haven't got anything in here without a vendor. And as I thought we do, we've got one item which is part of our bills of material which doesn't have a primary vendor. So if I just drop down this vendor account, I get a couple of options here, and I'm going to leave it on this option which it remembers for me, vendors with the purchase price. So I've got an option here to select either of these two. Well, I may still need to go off and have a look at that category, but let's assume I've remembered who that category is. I could go ahead, select the vendor through here, and that will ensure that I've got a vendor for this work order, of course. So once I've finished with all of that, I may go ahead and run another margin analysis. So let's have a quick look at a margin analysis. I can run these at any point in time. We're seeing me run one during the sales process, but I may also want to do this as maybe I've changed certain things. We've actually just changed the vendors, etc. So we can see through here what our new margin may be. So different house, different margin, nicer margin on this particular one. So and those can be compared. So I was able to compare from the lot start margin to the sale margin. Okay, so construction start to sale margin. That could be there's a comparison report through that. Once I'm ready, I could just go ahead, submit that to workflow. They could require additional approval. That's probably who would have done the margin analysis review on that, and process the lot start. So picking back up on the deck then, rushing through some of this, but as you can see, there's quite a lot to get through in HB1. So it creates three things. The first thing that it creates is purchase orders. These are available to the vendor via their portal. We can build purchase orders by an individual cost code or for multiple cost codes. So we don't necessarily have to put one cost code on one purchase order. It could be multiple cost codes to a purchase order. Purchase order example could look like this. The next thing that the lot start would create is a budget. So we've got an original and an approved, a remaining budget, any commitments, any revisions to the budget. We can look at this in different ways. This is by category group of categories, drilling down to individual categories which are cost codes, or we could go further than that, or with different categories, for example. The other way of looking at this in similar kind of ways, we're looking at this again by category, but it could be by trade type, in different ways. It could be by vendor, and you can see our original budgets, our revised budgets, our actual spends, our open POs and contracted items, our committed, obviously giving us our committed total cost, what's remaining to commit, completion percentage if we store such a thing, our final expected cost, and any overs and unders on the whole build. Not too bad here at $90 on a $400,000 home. I think we'd all be happy with that one. The final thing we have is the build schedule, and this schedule, for the entire home is built out, so it tracks the milestones as well within the home, tracks or within the build. Other advanced features, let's just have a look at these. We have multi-family capability in here, so we can have a concurrency on one of these activities. So we could say, hey, the plumber can do 3 condos in a day, and the next thing to keep in mind there is that the next activity may start after the individual condo, or it may need all condos to be completed of that previous activity before the current activity can start. So i.e. HVAC may require plumbing for the entire floor or building before we can start HVAC. So lots of capability in our scheduling system. Another example of that is lead and lag and different types. You would have seen things like this in for those of you who've used Microsoft projects, finish to start. Anybody in scheduling will be welcoming these kind of features within their scheduling solution. So in summary, we have multifamily capability. There's lots of efficiency. We provide information to the vendor so that they can obviously provide us with the best service possible. This brings us to construction, 6th of 8th pillar that we're going to cover off today. So this is a portal. This is actually looking at the solution on an iPhone. I'll actually bring up my iPhone shortly. Here we're showing the superintendent, but let's have a look at the vendor. So this is work orders which they've been provided, and they are able to close out jobs which can then be approved by the superintendent, as I'll show you in a moment. They can view outstanding invoices. There's a few other things that they can do within this, but they're the 2 key things. So as mentioned, let's go and have a look at the superintendent portal, and let's just jump out to my mirroring software here. Let's just maximize this, and in fact I want to drop it onto the other screen. So this is now my iPhone here, so just moving it real time. So these are the open activities. We could go ahead and close these activities. 5:20, I should have done that one by now. So I can go ahead and close that activity at 3 Eastlake. We can update end dates on here, so if there is a delay, we can go and process that in here. We have the approve OK to pays. So two ways really of doing OK to pay. I could do that via myself closing activities, or if I allowed the vendor to close activities, this would allow me then to approve. So we could assume that we want to go ahead and approve Joe Weber Electric. They've been to Twin Pine Court. I was there this morning. Everything's all good. The work was in order. I've done my inspection checks. I'm fine with that, so I could go ahead and approve. The other process is creating field purchase orders. So I may just jump off to a lot. See if I can just find a lot here, and we'll just jump onto lot 33, which is 46 Springs Road, I think it was. And I want to select a vendor, and I can't remember my vendor number, of course, so I want to just go ahead and select 84 Lumber, and maybe we've had some stolen trusses. I don't know how they'd be pretty big, but there we go. And the materials have been stolen, so that actually gave me a filtered list. So that was filtered based on the vendor I'd selected. They're only allowed to really supply us with certain products, of course. And let's just say that this is the $2,000, and we had some, I think I have something like theft in here. So if I type in I will find my theft, and I could go ahead, click OK, and that's going to generate me a field purchase order, which may go through for further approval based on the amount that we've gone and specified there. So back to the deck. So we've gone through, we've had a look at OK to pay, we've done some field purchase orders, so we're now ready to do some extras. So another construction process is there's potentially going to be extras on the job. Price may change, maybe the estimators not set up the correct quantities, bills of material. What we're looking at here is a cost price form. This is available and stored by a community for a particular category of work for a particular item. So this is a floor joist, and the price from 4/5/16 was $386.35. Now, whilst the full history is retained, what we need to do is just make a change here. So we're going to amend this to $436.35, and we'll see that the date was 5/22. And a change reason needs to be given. So I go ahead, select the price increase, and the effective dates means that it's going to affect another record. We already know we did have a price for this community already, but what AX has done is just expired that automatically for us, and it uses the day before to expire that. So still something else to do. Even though we've changed our prices, we now need to update maybe open work orders, utilizes the date there and says, hey, any starts or anything that was sold before or after, the 5/22 needs to be affected with this particular change. So it pulls back the purchase orders which may be affected by this. We can see all of these are in the Eastlake community. We will mark them all ready for update. Gives us that message that it's updated them, and we go and have a look at the purchase order. We can see here that there's a change reason. Our new price is $436.35. We need 2 of them on this particular house, and we'll be able to see here the full history. It tracks who did it, when they did it, what time they did it, reason, and the difference in amounts that occurred. So if more things occur, things like extras resulting from bills of material, a full history is retained for us to obviously analyze through Power BI, etc. Okay, so moving into the next section, we have construction cutoffs and buyer variations. So this is construction cutoff. It uses the wildcard capability that we have. Blank, by the way, just means it's like a star within JD Edwards. The element, I'm doing it at the corporate level, but I could do it at the division level, at the region level, at the community level, at a particular phase. So lots of different capability in our inheritance functionality here. What this is referring to is looking at our options, and I'm looking at it by either individual option or a category of options. And I can go ahead and restrict what changes can be made depending on the construction phase of the lot. So very quick view on this. We're looking at the lots and their current construction phase. So imagine one of these was tried to be changed, and Eastlake 20, we wanted to add a fireplace, but we'd gone past that stage. What we can do is we can go ahead, generate an option change if the buyer is insisting on making this change. But of course, we need to ask the superintendent or the vendor, the subcontractor on site, what it would take to make this change and whether it's even possible. So it requires a separate process that routes out to the superintendent. They can put a price against it and obviously update the system with that price. So we feel with the, in construction, there's vendor satisfaction. We do allow, didn't show you, but we do allow field POs to be generated by the vendor. But there's no lack of control, no loss of control here because the superintendent can still approve them. We reduce calls to the finance team because they've got access to payment history, etc. So then moving into the next section, we have warranty, and actually, let's just skim through this. I don't know how we're doing for time, but let's just skim through it. So this is a warranty project. This got generated when the house was closed. We'll see house closed shortly, and it generates and items get posted to the warranty ledger. Maintenance information is generated automatically. It brings over the contacts, it brings over the addresses, and that's all transferred. We can view what the term service objects, so really anything that's under warranty will be shown. Here we've got, everything within lot 32 is under, I think, maybe an 8-year warranty. So imagine now that customer service has got a call from the buyer or the tenant. We can store their information as well, of course, and we can go and look up the correct warranty project by these different means. So maybe their street number and name, maybe their phone number, and it will basically give us a list depending on how specific we are. So imagine we've taken that request either manually on the phone, or the buyer's actually logged into the portal and made the request there, and it shows up within here. It needs to be approved and processed through. The buyer gets the ability to go and attach any images that they have. So they purchased a dishwasher from us. That's oversudsing a little, so we can see here that it's oversuds. Now, if there was a repair history, we would see against that particular object, i.e. the dishwasher, we could track the repair history. We can also track who was the original installer, the original vendor that supplied, in this case, the HVAC machine. Now, they could go out of business, of course. We do have the ability to go and change who the service vendor is. So at any time, the customer care technician can very quickly get to the right information, against that particular lot. A whole host of reducing administration. We can escalate issues electronically. We can use workflow to allocate maybe to the superintendent on responsible for that job. Okay, so on to the final section and the final live presentation here, which is on financial allocations. So lots of things in the AP that we're not going to look at. Obviously, processing checks, doing liens, approving OK to pays if that's part of your process are all possible through there. So I've got a couple of allocation rules really for the same community. So imagine here that we've got a whole host of costs that we've captured at the community level, and we want to allocate these down to the lot. So this is our Eastlake, and there's a couple of different methods here that we're going to use, and this is going to allocate down to lot, and it's going to do it on a prorated basis, but it's using a factor. Now, if we jump into this one, is that one active? No. And then the other one being a square foot, so we can allocate via this other method being square footage, and once again down to the lot, but it's just using different sources. So in this case it's a lot square foot, and in the previous place it was really just a factor, and we've got allocation factor. Now I know that the allocation factor here is it's 1 for every single lot. So when we look at our allocations, I think I've got both of them that have been pre-processed. Given time, I'd actually show you that. Let's have a look at our allocation by factor, and we'll see here our costs and our budgets and the allocation down to the lot. So this is allocation for Eastlake community. I've got $130,000 to allocate. I can see here that it's just allocated the same number through all of our lots, and the same with the budget. We can allocate our budget as well. Now if we just drop back out of there, or let's use our hamburger here on the left hand side and go to our community to lots using the square foot method. Now if we just jump onto that record, same values, I'm using this really the same community, but this time you'll notice there's a whole host of different values which have been allocated the relevant cost or the relevant budget, and the reason for that is because it's using the square foot. Okay, so difference in how you actually allocate your costs from community to lot, or even costs from community down to individual phases, and then from phases to lots. Lots of other capability here, but hopefully that gives you a sense of the strength of the allocations within HB1. So then it brings us to the house close, and the process, the financial process for the house close. So we can see here that 2 activities really have been triggered maybe in the last day, and we need to go and process the HUD statements. So clicking on the in this workspace for the financial controller here, they've got to close out Eastlake 39, lot 39 and Eastlake 31. So they can basically click on this, that will generate the HUD statement. They can make any final tweaks to that and process and recognize their revenue. The second step of this is the lot cost accrual. So we're looking at the Eastlake 39, normally be in the same period, of course. This will generate and recognize all of our costs. So I haven't processed many invoices here, but normally we'd have much less commitments, particularly when compared to the original budget. But hopefully you get the sense of what's going on here, and we can go ahead and say, yeah, we're still expecting these invoices, or we can go ahead and amend the amounts and say, well, actually we're only expecting half of that amount, or no, we just want to close off that particular one, and that will adjust our open commitments and our accrual that we go and process. So other things in the financial area, we have a whole host of different reports. Just going to flick through just a couple here. You'll have the deck, so you'll be able to take this and do some further analysis on what we're showing you here. But these are just generic reports that come shipped with the solution. This one I particularly find interesting, just because imagine this has been generated by the finance team and the business users, not IT, and you can imagine the complexity in here that's required, but it's really in the hands of the end user building out these reports as they need. It's got calculations, got ratios, KPIs, things like that they want to generate. The other one, which is within the business user's hands, is the margin analysis, and another one worth bringing up multiple times in this presentation, because I think it's a key report for you as a home builder. We can see square footage cost, we can see cost per square foot, the margin analysis in dollars, the margin analysis in percentage. So this is another thing that you can build out utilizing your categories, utilize in a summary or detailed fashion as per the requirements of your business. And then finally, this is a Power BI. Once again, AX comes shipped with a whole host of these, particularly in the finance area. We as in HomebuilderONE will be releasing ours towards the end of this summer. I've got a trip out there actually later this month to build out all of these and drive that forward. So one source of the truth in accounting, things that we didn't show you, we have workflow around lien waiver through the submission process and the approval process, preventing things getting paid when there's liens out there, of course, being able to track our actuals and our budgets by lot, etc. And so this really brings us to the end. Thank you for listening to me for the last hour or so. So we've taken the home from start of a community all the way through bidding. We've priced up some options. In the Sales and Design Center, we did our option selection. We approved a document. The buyer initially approved, and then the divisional president approved it, all utilizing the DocuSign solution, all integrated within the HB1 platform, as are other things within DocuSign. That's really the tip of the iceberg. It could be the warranty item which gets signed off, etc. The running into operations and the lot start, and we've seen how efficient that process is. The construction superintendent, we were on the portal utilizing the iPhone and completed tasks and approved payment for things, walking through the warranty, and then finally into the close of the house and the reporting section. So like I say, thank you very much for listening.